world is about struggling. But is it that we become too soft and we don't know how to deal with mental issues? Or is there an actual need for us to address the issue of mental illness?
We all face stressors every day.
Yes.
When you're in traffic, you're stuck in traffic, you find you're late for work or you're late for appointment. These are stressors which are part of life.
Mm-hmm.
It means actually it's affecting your brain. Like it's even development, it's affecting your functioning, cognitive functioning.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Mogoi's Musings, where we are all mental. Thank you so much for joining us again. I hope you guys have been following the conversation on our YouTube and podcast channels. If not, here are the links for the YouTube. We'll also share the links for the other platforms where you can access our content. We have had an opportunity to have a couple of guests here. We've had Alan, we've had Rhodah, and guess what, guys? We have Rhodah joining us again because from the last conversation we had, I felt like there's a lot of unpacking that we need to do around this conversation on mental health. So if you haven't watched these episodes, the links are going to be somewhere up here or down here, depending on how this content is going to be packaged. So we're going to get right to it. As I had mentioned, Rhodah is a clinical psychologist. She works at Apex Counseling Services or Counseling Center in Kiambu. She is a fantastic psychologist, and I'm sure if you've watched the other episode, you probably already know that, yeah? So we're going to get right into that, and without further ado, thank you for joining us again, Rhodah.
Thank you again.
It's a fantastic, it's absolutely amazing to have you come on set with us again. Just so you know, we love having you on board. And like I said, you could become a regular here at this rate because, I mean, you're making this conversation happen in the way that is rich and helping us reach the objective, which is to make mental awareness a conversation that is an everyday conversation. Okay, so you've been well since the last time
Yes, I've been well. The conversation was amazing. And I love the flow of the conversation and getting it out there for people to understand more, to become more aware of when you talk about mental health, what does it entail?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're going to be speaking about today. So I would like us to start from the very, very top. For a lot of times, most times when the issue of mental health is brought up, or rather the conversation around mental health is brought up, I think the first thought that comes to our minds is, someone who's unwell. The minute it's said, the first thing is, depression, all these other mental illnesses that are there. But tell us, broadly, what does mental health mean?
So according to even how the World Health Organization packages it, there is the mental health where there is the complete well-being with absence of illness. That is mental health, where you're physically, you're psychologically, spiritually, and socially healthy with absence of illness. Now we say you're mentally well. But now there's the notion of the way people say when you mention mental health, as you've said, you think of illness, but we have mental illness. Where now, this is where now you are struggling with a mental illness. That's the definition. But for mental health is where, as I said, that package of psychologically you're well, physically you're well, socially, spiritually, with absence of illness. That's mental health.
I love that. So it's the whole aspect of it. And it's kind of like health and fitness, because every time we talk about health and fitness, the first thing that comes to someone's mind is, I need to be like in good health, I need to be like fit. There's these things, but when we say health and fitness, a lot of times we forget that the mind is part of the health and fitness journey. But the way you've broken it down, that it tells us that mental health is not the same as mental illness.
Yes.
Absence of mental health is what leads to mental illness. Thank you so much for that. So let's start with the healthy bit of it before we go to the bit of when someone now has mental illness and how that can be and how to handle that. So when we are working towards being healthy mentally, what are some of the things that you would advise us to do so as to maintain a state of mental wellness?
That's broad, and now we can break it down in terms of, you look at even the habits you have.
Yes.
Habits you have in terms of, we've been talking about self-care. Everybody's talking about self-care every time. And for someone who is, let me give an example. Someone who is mentally healthy, we all face stressors every day.
Yes.
When you're in traffic, you're stuck in traffic, you find you're late for work or you're late for appointment. These are stressors which are part of life. Financial stressors, employment issues, family issues. These are common
Stresses.
Yes, common stresses. So someone who's mentally healthy will handle this in a very sober way of, okay, understanding of this is affecting my life. Can I control it? If I can't control it, what can I do to lessen the situation, even the impact of this? And you'll be able to cope with it positively. Other they say, okay, I'm late for work, but yes, I'm late, so there's nothing much I can do. Someone who is now struggling even with a mental illness, you find it will even impact their performance at work. You'll find you don't know even how to deal with it, ends up even affecting you, even physically. Now when you face such stressors, which are, and can escalate a situation to a point of even you can't cope with normal day-to-day things. So this is now when we say now as you're differentiating mental health and mental illness. So in terms of now ensuring you're healthy, it's a matter of sitting down and asking yourself, do I know, am I really, do I know who I am right now? And what are some of the coping ways I do? Do I know how to handle stress? Do I know how is my relationship? Is it a healthy relationship? And that's why you realize, okay, maybe there's a challenge there. Can I go talk to someone? Either it may be a friend, it may be someone who is close to me, or if I feel I can go to talk to maybe even a therapist in some of these changes. Or now in terms of waking up, what are my sleeping habits? Am I sleeping well? How is my diet? That's very critical. The things you're taking up, how is my diet? Is it good for me? How is it impacting me? How is my relationship? Is it a healthy relationship? Or is it improving me positively?
Yes.
How is my family relationship? These are the key things you look at. Comes to spiritual, what's your relationship comes to spirituality? Am I in a safe place? Am I in a good place? Is that affecting me? So when you do more of like an audit of your life and you realize, okay, maybe there's a place where something is not going well. Now that's where it requires a change to ensure now the complete wellness. Now comes to the things you do day to day to ensure at least you have, I usually say they form a foundation where even though you face something, a negative event in life, you already have a buffer where it will not affect the rest of, or like the whole of your life. Like exercise, we should always say, some people like walking, others like going to the gym, others like swimming. Identify something to keep you active. Yes. Because physically that is part of it. Comes to relationship, that's another key thing. Who is your support system? Identify who are the people you know you can lean on in case of anything. The one challenge we're having right now is the kind of people support surrounding us. Where when you have a problem or you're going through something, you don't have someone you can rely on, even talk to. That's the point you're feeling. You're lonely. Not alone, you're lonely.
You're lonely,
the loneliness comes in.
Yeah.
You feel, I'm alone, I can't rely on anyone. So the support system is critical as part of a self-care initiative. Around the people around you, is it my family? Is it my friends? Is it my spouse or the person? Is it my friends? Who is in your support system?
Yeah. And also, I think maybe maybe you can correct me, I'm also thinking, even the content we consume.
Yes.
Like, there's content you can consume that can be very fulfilling and can be wholesome, and it feeds your energy and it feeds your spirit. But there's also content that you can consume that will end up breaking you down. So even the stuff we take in, the amount of content we consume, or rather the quality of content we consume, also affects our mental well-being.
Very, very, very good one.
Yeah.
The content in terms of, there's a lot happening around the world right now, every day, and some events are very traumatic. And the thing is, the minute you continue consuming this, your brain is registering like the world is just not safe. Negativity. Yeah. And the moment your brain registers, there is in that level of insecurity and the negative, it's also what forms in the habits you have. And it's affecting you without even knowing, because you're constantly consuming it. And for you, it's shaping the image of how you perceive the world. Okay. And meaning the minute you're consuming that, even your brain itself registers, I'm not safe. Things are not good. So it's forever stressed. And this is what happens. The minute your stress levels goes high, there's a hormone called cortisol, and it's released. And it's released as a way of protecting you. And the higher levels of cortisol, your immunity goes down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The minute you're highly stressed, that's why you say you hear stress and immunity and
they're like,
they go hand in hand.
Go hand in hand.
The minute your stress levels are high, your immunity goes down. Because for the cortisol to be released and protect you, you know that fight or fight friend. Yes,
fawn.
Freeze.
Yes.
It's released as a result of that to protect you. But the minute it's released, your immunity goes down.
Okay.
So meaning at that point, you're vulnerable. Vulnerable to infectious diseases, vulnerable to any kind of diseases which come through.
Okay.
Yes, so that leaves you so vulnerable, and that's why you find health-wise it affects you physically. So that's why when you have coping ways of telling your brain, okay, it's a stressful situation, but I am safe. I'm okay. That's why you bring all this. But now the more you're saying you're consuming negative things every time, your brain is in constant stress. It's constantly stressed every time.
Okay, so the material you consume, exercising, that is also, and I think a lot of times, every time people think about exercise, the first thing that comes to mind is just like looking nice. You know, like that's an assumption we make for the most part, that when you're exercising, you're only doing it so that you look slim and you look fit. But really, exercising actually helps in our mental well-being, because when you exercise, there's those hormones. I think it's serotonin, or is it dopamine, that gets released, that really helps in your mind to be now in a permanent state. So guys, every time someone is telling you I'm going to the gym, don't be like, when you want to slim and you're already looking fit. No, it's not about the body, really. Most of the time, it's even about the mind. And I think for people who've exercised, you realize that every time you have exercise, and if it's just a walk, it doesn't have to be lifting weights and what, even a 5-10 minute walk, you realize that your mind really ends up in a very nice space.
Yes.
Yeah? And so it's important. It's nice that you've actually mentioned that. And I like that we already starting from the point of mental health is not about just the bad things.
Yeah.
It's about us protecting ourselves from getting to that point where now we're beginning to deal with mental illness.
Yes.
Now, tell me, so we've said there's a good aspect of it, and we've said we protect it by doing certain things like exercising and exercising our spirituality, and being around people who are also feeding our minds with positive things. And also there's the aspect of even our workplaces, like it needs to be a healthy work environment for you to be able to thrive. And perhaps to add, like when your mental health is in a good place, even your productivity also goes high. And even the relationship you have with other people is also very positive. Even as a parent, if your mental health is in a good place, then you're also able to become a better parent to your children, a better sister, a better relative, because then you are coming from a point of positivity. Yeah? Because I know, but let me just hold that, because I know we come to that around. So let's discuss now the mental health state, what in Kenya really. From now your psychological perspective, and from, I know you have statistics now that you're like right in the thick of it. What is the state of mental health in Kenya?
Oh, I can say we're in a very critical state right now, and it can be due to the fact that right now people are more aware about it. Right now people are talking. So we may see maybe there's an increase in the cases of mental illnesses, but it's because now people are speaking up about it. But also the state of the country where we are right now, even after COVID, the economy, it's affecting us. Loss of jobs, there's so many challenges going on, and people don't have the skills on how to cope with it. So you find now these things are happening. There is increase in drug use, and not only just alcohol, other substances which are in the country right now. We have not only even the increase of use of miraa, we have drugs such as, which other drugs? We have nicotine intake. We have cocaine.
Teacher, I want to interject. I thought that's for sherehe purposes.
Now, here's the thing.
Is it not that we just discovered sherehe more, and now we're like, hey, Agoti has to go down. We have to take this to drugs to help us be in the mood,
Now you see now that framing the perception. I'm not criminalizing them, even showing, no. But the thing is how you perceive them when you're this uptick. there's sometimes when you're taking the drugs you're taking, you find they're impacting your life negatively. That's where my concern is. My concern is the problem is not the drug. The problem is what is going on with you for you to actually end up consuming it to a point is affecting your life, impacting your social life, even your sex life, your work. If it's impacting your life negatively, now that is the problem. Yeah, there is that share because it's part of, I usually say it's like an oil when people are meeting as friends, because it's been taken as a point of, like, it's what brings people together.
To wet the throat, for conversation to happen.
So you find in social, the uptick is there.
Yes.
But now the problem comes in when it's you overconsume it to a point of it's affecting you.
Yes.
You can't perform well it's affecting your relationship. Financially, it's affecting it, and you're not doing anything about it. The increase is still going on. So meaning there's something happening in your life, and you're using this as a mask to shield you. So that's where the concern is. There is the share people enjoying, no problem, but now the problem is when it starts impacting your mental health.
And so there's an issue, and you've just highlighted the bit about maybe the consumption of drugs and whatever. But I've also seen the statistics. I think as of May, we already had about like 130 cases of suicide in Kenya, and mostly by men than women. And it's like that's just like the first quarter of the year, and if you look at the statistics going back, I think last year the number of people who committed suicide in Kenya was at around 300, and those are the ones that we know. And that's just statistics within Kenya. And the world over, I was actually looking at the statistics courtesy of WHO, but it's actually one of the leading causes of death amongst, and even teenagers, which is quite, I think we need to talk about that. So teenagers, 703,000 people commit suicide per year. That's close to a million. And those are the ones who have succeeded in actually committing suicide. But there's also many more who've attempted and then did not succeed. And so which are we becoming more sensitive? Is it that we've stopped being sugu? Kitambo ulikuwa be roho ngumu. Like you handle it like a man, handle it like a woman. The world is about struggling. But is it that we become too soft and we don't know how to deal with mental issues? Or is there an actual need for us to address the issue of mental illness?
I think I'll go with the second one, which is the actual need. And even with the conversation around suicide, like right now, even they're changing the narrative around it and saying people are dying by suicide, because when we say you commit, it's like intentionally you're doing it. But when you actually sit down with someone who has attempted, you find for them it's a last option. This is what happens for them at that point. They see living, like just stopping living is the only way they will feel happy. They're looking for a sense of meaning. They're looking for a sense of purpose. They're looking for, I want to be happy. And the only way I can be happy is I need to just live and to stop even. And sometimes many feel like you're a burden. And that's when you're struggling with depression, that's actually the constant concern which is there. Like, I'm feeling I'm a burden to people. And because I'm a burden to people, let me live. That's why now to change that narrative for people to come forward and talk and come say, actually, I've been having suicidal ideation. I need help. We need to change that narrative. As you said, we need to focus more on what is happening. We have so many, like as you said, financial struggles. Comes to men, in statistics when it comes to men and women. Women, the cases of attempting suicide are many, but men complete suicide. And you've seen even the legal means by which men complete suicide. So usually many women, and because of the nature of how the society perceives a woman, and we talk about it, we find our support system, we can talk about these issues. But now when you go to another system of men talking about it, you're being told, you're the man, strong. You can't be strong, Ama you're told, take a beer and then everything will be okay.
Bili yangu, atuongee story. And someone can actually share. Like, you literally want to go and say, but hey, umdema meni stress. Like, this chick is giving me grief. And then instead of them being like, okay, I think maybe you need to walk away from it. They're like, I do me, I'm not stressing and I'm damn. Like, you'll put subtitles on that for our audience who may not understand Sheng and Kiswahili. But a lot of times, like, a man will want to talk about, first of all, they've been told not to talk about shit.
Yeah.
But if one takes the step of going to talk about it, they're told, no, we're not here for that conversation.
Yes.
And so for them, it has been difficult to actually have a conversation where they can share. And when they share, maybe a lot of times they're told, you're being weak. Yeah, you're being weak. Just go grab a beer, find another kachik. Like there's always those two solutions of
Find something else to
like there are not necessarily actual solutions to what is the issue, what is the issue on ground.
Thank
And so and I like that you've brought that to light. So there's an issue. There's a dire issue for us to have conversation.
Yes.
And so by the time someone is saying getting to the point where they are, what did you say they do with the suicide? They're not committing. They're dying by suicide.
Yes.
So when you get to the point where, and oh wow, that's actually very very profound now that you've put it. Now when it gets to a point where someone is dying by suicide, some of them may have not even sought help. Is there help available in Kenya? And I think maybe that it's a question we could answer later. But let's just do this step by step. I know we're rushing because we want to get to the solutions quickly.
Yeah.
But are there people who are more predisposed to getting mental illness compared to others? And what are those factors that predispose someone to possibly getting mental illness?
There's some people who are more predisposed. Let me give you an example before you go there.
Yes.
You find that people predisposed to having a substance use disorder.
Yes.
Which is usually we are continuing changing the wordings to say now that's not an addict. No.
Yeah.
It's like you have a disorder. It's an illness you have. So you find you can be we started maybe partaking the drink the same time, but you find now for you become addicted to it compared to me. So if the predisposition is genetics part of it, you find even 50% genetically, it predisposes you. Either maybe it's a family member who has had a mental illness. That's why in assessment, the first intake we do, I take your history from family because I need to understand, is there anybody in your family
who already is there?
Yes. So if that is already there, this predisposes you.
Yes.
Either it becomes it's a substance use or any kind of illness. If there's a family member with an illness, meaning you're more vulnerable to getting this illness.
Okay.
We find coming from having earlier we had talked about adverse childhood experiences. Usually it's ACE, which you're predisposed to trauma as a child. That predisposes you to mental illness later in life. Comes in like even introduction of doing things like even there's a parent who is using as an alcohol use disorder. That predisposes you. Things like gender-based violence going through within the family, that predisposes you to illness compared to others. And then now you find now in general now there is the environment you're growing up in.
Yeah.
Yes, even that one now predisposes you to mental illness compared to others. So that makes you're more vulnerable to become mentally ill compared.
Yeah.
And then we have others also who have grown up with such, but they end up becoming more resilient.
Yes.
Which there are cases like those ones where despite the experiences they've gone through in life, it's not affecting. And they're even becoming stronger in protecting themselves. So all these things make you predispose someone to mental illness compared to others. Okay. So that is there.
So we've tackled the environment, and we've also said that there are people who are majorly predisposed to mental illness, yeah? Yes. And so environment, let's talk about culture. And how, and especially right now, I know there's the traditional culture in Kenya, and then there's what we consider the modern or westernized culture. Yeah. And there's a bit, I feel like there's a part where when we are moving to the future, and there's also being stuck in the past. And I think that happens a lot with Gen Z and Gen X, and then there's millennials in the middle. How we are basically interpreting things as they come. Does that put us in a position where we are prone to having mental illnesses?
Yes, because of now, as you've said, the different generations, and we find now we have the millennials where our culture played a big impact in our lives. But it's the Gen Z that's the current one. Which one?
Yeah, the ones who are like they'll be at work in the morning, and then you give them grief, and they're at lunchtime they live with their bag and you don't see them again.
And then now you see now for them the social media, it's a big impact on their life. The culture part is not actually affecting them as much as the millennials. So you find you have some cultures where still it's a taboo even to talk about some mental illnesses. Let's say something like schizophrenia. People still see someone as evil spirits. So this person, even the society itself, doesn't support the person in seeking help. Even the family itself doesn't want to help them embrace it, because now the community will see, this person, these are evil spirits, and that's a family. Something is wrong with that family,
which causes stigma. And so it means that a schizophrenic, for example, cannot go to get help, especially, let's say, like in Nairobi or in urban centers. Maybe there's a bit more understanding, and if you're a bit well read, then you can begin to grasp what is happening. But like, say in the thick of, say, Kisi Nyamache, that's my chunks. Someone there already starts to hear things, and they cannot even say that, because there's that whole of, and you know, like, and then the way there's also stigmatization around cultures. So if someone, like, say in Nyamache says, oh my God, I'm hearing voices, already we're like, these people are witches. Actually, this family has a background of witchcraft, and it's now showing in their child. And so it makes it really hard for conversation around that to happen. And so, very interesting.
So basically that you find even some people come and tell you, I've had a communication with God, and God has told me I do this and this. So this was the, so it's not, they're not looking at it from a mental illness perspective. And for them, it's much easier to label it as maybe something like, as you said, witchcraft or something evil, instead of now that. And the minute you do that, it's not addressed.
Let me ask a question. So the other day I was going through my social media, I was going through my WhatsApp, and then there's this group we're in, and there's this gentleman who said he's schizophrenic. He actually wrote that he's a schizophrenic, and part of the things he hears in his head are amazing marketing ideas that could transform brands. I think I sent that to our producer, where apparently he's like, guys, hook me up with the people who run the campaigns, the marketing campaigns for certain brands, because I have huge ideas that could transform them. And I've gotten these revelations through my schizophrenia. Does it give us superpowers?
No, it's usually, you find the mind, majority of them you find are very intelligent, highly intelligent individuals. And also in part of the voices they hear, there's that grandiose way of thinking. It's some part of the symptom we see. That grandiose way of thinking they are the president of this world, they can do this. Like, that's the voices, how they do it. So this guy, maybe he has gotten to a place where he's using it as a, so like you find, or they're intelligent. And they can normally, when they're under medication, they can actually function in that way. So this person, if maybe you've seen the ideas, maybe it's a matter of checking.
They actually may work,
They may work.
Because
when actually through treatment, they can be able to actually package what
articulate them nicely.
Yes.
And then actually go on to make huge and actually like be able to be things that we could work with and transform into amazing stuff.
Yes.
Which brings me to another sort of, what are some of the examples of mental illnesses that are quite common? And while we're at it, maybe we could differentiate between psychological and neurological mental situations or illnesses. So the difference between neurological and psychological mental illnesses.
So
and examples.
Okay. Now for the neurological part of it, even say neurodevelopmental, things like autism, things like attention deficit.
What is neuro?
Now
explain that now. Scientific term you just dropped there.
Now it means actually it's affecting your brain. Like, it's even development, it's affecting your functioning, cognitive functioning, in terms of memory uptake. It's basically affecting your cognitive functioning. And this is memory, how even problem solving abilities, how you even communicate with others. So that's the target of the brain, how it's affecting you. Now comes to the others, you're saying the psychological ones, which you're talking about trauma related, things like post-traumatic stress disorder. You've heard about PTSD. We have heard about depression, which is something we talk about every time. We have heard about anxiety disorders. And now anxiety disorders.
And narcissistic personality disorder that we are always, everyone is like, you're a narcissist.
No.
Is that a psychological one or a neurological one?
It's a psychological one. Now let me come to the let me break it down. So the anxiety, even if it's broken down in different, we have the obsessive compulsive disorder,
OCD.
We have generalized anxiety. Now coming to narcissistic, So we have the narcissistic personality disorder. This is a personality disorder.
Yes.
Meaning this is like, as you're saying, you're growing, you have a personality. This is part of them, as you say. And then we have even the narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
But
so you do not have a disorder, but you have the traits.
You have the traits.
So the disorder is the one that is diagnosed by by you people, and then the trait is you're not necessarily an NPD, narcissistic personality disordered person, but you do show traits of narcissism.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a difference.
There is a big difference when it comes to that.
We will tackle that entire thing in a whole different topic.
Yes.
We will come to that. I think I feel like every of these things needs a full topic on its own, where we like really just like break it down. But for now, we will do you will tell us examples of the neurological. I think the ones you said.
Yeah.
What those are. So those ones, do you get born with them?
Yes, you're born with them. That's why we find even something like autism. It's diagnosed early. You're born with it. We find something like ADHD.
Yes.
You're born with it. And also now those are some of the neurological, and even now we terms it have neurodevelopment because it's affecting your development.
Yeah.
So those you're born with them, and that's even treatment comes that early.
Yes.
And that's when it's detected early and treatment is sought early. You can function very well with it.
Where does the psychopathy land?
Now comes in now. It's very interesting. Now we have under the cluster of personality disorder. We have a disorder called antisocial personality disorder.
Yes.
The traits there is what now people refer to psychopathy. Because someone's struggling with antisocial personality disorder, you'll find even traits of narcissism. You'll find the psychopathological traits which are there, but the disorder is antisocial personality disorder.
Oh, that's psychopathy and antisocial. And even NPD is also...
No, NPD now it's a personality disorder on its own. And that's why you'll find even that one, the traits of narcissism which are there. They are
guys.
So it's all of them are under personality disorder. That's why it's very hard even for them to admit they have a problem. Even it's something because it's with them. It's a chronic.
It's them. It's who they are.
For them, it's normal.
Yes.
When you come, why are you telling me I have a problem?
Yeah.
This is normal.
Like this is me in my normal. I don't know how to do life any other way.
That's the way I know.
Yeah.
So one thing is, even when they come for treatment, when they're coming for treatment, it's not because of the personality disorder. It's something else.
The side effects of the personality disorder that they already have.
The symptoms which are there, you find even maybe through a depression, even anxiety, and through assessment, you come to realize actually this person has a personality disorder, and getting to a point of them becoming aware of how their actions are impacting themselves and the people around them. That's the struggle.
Wow, okay. So let me say this. Because I know if we continue on that path you're taking, you and I will just totally get lost somewhere there, and we will, so we, in the spirit of keeping this conversation within the frameworks of us trying to define and getting a grasp of what it is that we're dealing with right now, and then we'll get into that as we move along. We'll handle all these personality disorders and how they tie into our lives. But for now, let's just talk about some examples of common psychological disorders that we are having right now, and the ones where you're in a space of, if you feel like some certain way, you need to get help. So some of them are which ones?
Now, as I said, we have depression.
Yes.
We have anxiety. We have even bipolar, which is a very common one. Also, we have, as I said, schizophrenia. And then we have the substance use, the alcohol use disorder. Also, we have other now behavioral addictions. Things like sex addiction. We have gambling addiction, which are also becoming very common, right? Internet addiction, even though it's not like in DSM, it's something which is there. Wait,
so if you're saying if I say I'm horny all the time, should I get checked?
Now here's the thing. That's a very interesting one. That's very interesting. But now this is how we define when it comes to some of these illnesses. If it's impacting your life negatively, if you can't actually function, your relationships are affected, and these let's say it's the sex, it's the one common factor. And you can't function properly in other areas of your life. Now there is a problem. When you see yourself, you're losing interest in things you used to love. You're no longer like it's like your personality has changed. You're withdrawing from people. You used to be a social person. You're now withdrawing from people. Now that means something is going wrong
Yes.
somewhere. And that's a sign for you to actually seek help. Or you sit down and ask yourself what's going on. When you find maybe even you're oversleeping, sometimes even oversleeping.
Sleeping for long periods
Yes,
of time.
becomes or even you have like what people say insomnia, where you're
not sleeping at all.
Yeah, and then now it's impacting your activity.
Yes, you can't function right because
Yes.
you're tired.
Yes.
And especially because, and I think a lot of times we ignore this, but sleep is an integral part of our health, mental health being, and even physical wellness. Yeah, so if you're not sleeping, and if you're sleeping for a long period of time, okay.
And then
if you're not eating, and if you're eating a lot,
that's something like
extremes of everything.
Something has changed here.
Yeah.
You find even used to be jovial, and then all of a sudden you're becoming irritable every time. You're just angry. The anger outbursts which are happening, and now that's it's a concern. And then now another critical one, the part of the self-harm, where you feel like you just need to hurt yourself or even cut to feel a relief of something. Now that's a concern. Suicide ideation, where you actually think about suicide. And now is the step of, there are people who think about suicide, and there are others who actually think about how they can end their life.
Yeah.
That's another concern, where you need to realize, okay, something is wrong somewhere. I need to talk to someone.
Okay.
Yeah. And now the problem is these days many people are going to the social media to just talk. And that's not a safe place.
It's not a safe space.
It's not.
Because you will receive negative, people will be like insulting you.
Yes.
You know, so you're going there to just like open up because you're feeling this is a safe space, no one can see me. But literally then the feedback starts coming in, and a lot of it you're like, oh, you feel worse than even before you started writing there. So the safe space is where? Tell us.
Now the safe space comes in now. As much as you say, people say it helps them, like you've written it out. That's why I support journaling a lot.
Yes.
If you feel the need to write something, write it in your journal. Let it out. And then also now the next step is, where do you go to?
Yes.
We have right now the therapy spaces. We have so many therapists in Kenya. And as you said earlier, how you go to check, we have so many, like you can go to, there's an unique Kenya Psychological Association, we have the Kenya Counseling and Psychological Association, we have those places where you can go and get contacts of where to go for therapy.
We'll list all those and maybe some more. We'll list them all in our description box so that if anyone is looking for help, we can begin there. But also you can get in touch with us in our DMs, and then we can be able to like sort of find a way to help you directly, you know. But yeah, so some of the places where we can go for help is, you've said the Kenya.
Now the association, you find registered therapists, who are vetted by the association, and they can offer the services. That's why I directed to go to the association, because we have the one for counselors.
Yes.
We have even another space for clinical psychologists, Kenya, and then we have the Kenya Psychological Association. All of them, you'll go there, you will find, you can get help from there, even getting a contact for someone to go to. Also, there's another space called Therapy Route.
Yes.
This is where now Therapy Route, they are vetted and all credentials are there, and you contact them, they can give you now the list of the counselors within your location. Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, let's say you're based in like
again, Nyamache.
You can,
you know.
Yeah, your place there, you go check and you indicate your location, they give you contacts of people around the area. So it's becoming much easier now to be able to access help. But I think 3 questions just popped up, and so I'm going to ask one by one. So the first one is, fine, you've said there's access to therapists, and you've said there's places where we can look to get therapists. Are they mostly in urban areas? Like people in like those rural areas, will they be able to access help in those shag areas? They need to like come to Nairobi, go to urban centers? How easy is it to access? Now that's a big challenge, which there's a bill which was passed the other day, act which was passed the other day, and the government is looking at more community-based model of mental health, and that's where you find every hospital, even the level 2 hospital, you find you're having counselors located in those centers, all of them. So before, it used to be it's a big challenge of someone going seeking services, and they don't know even actually, they don't realize, by the way, I'm struggling with this, I need to go seek help. So urban areas, that one is very possible right now. In the rural areas, I think there's a challenge, which now with the bill being passed, it's going to be addressed, where they're looking at what can be available within the community, and with the language people can understand, breaking down what is mental health within that, the language the people within the community
can get,
making
grasp.
Yes, making it easier for them to go seek help. So right now, yes, it's a challenge, but I believe with time, it's gonna get better.
It will get. I mean, we are working on getting it better. I mean, that's the whole. Like, we are getting. Yes, we need to get to a position where, or rather, a space where people are able to access mental health. Which brings me to another question that ties to that very closely. So maybe let me start by giving an example. So when I was, a few years back, when I began to look for people to talk to, like a therapist to talk to, there's the issue of cost. Because I remember the first time I went and consulted, the thing that I was told is, yes, so you need to come in every week. And every week, every session costs money. And this is the amount of money per session. So, of course, the issue of costing, how do we tackle that?
That's a challenge we are having, and it's a conversation which even I was in a session about talking about mental health investment case. It's a conversation we are having because it's the biggest concern on our side. As a therapist, I'm making a living.
You need to earn a living. I mean, yes, I'm not going to want to come to you and you're going home hungry so that you also need therapy. Because I mean, capitalism and stuff. You need to earn a living.
Now, what the biggest concern even for us is, even for the therapist, they have to go see a therapist. Because I need also to ensure I'm mentally well to help you.
Yes.
And then also on the other side, I need to go for supervision.
Yes.
Because some of the cases you get, you need someone who is at a higher level to help you now also unpack some of the cases you have. So on that level, it's expensive here, and hence therapy becomes expensive. So making it affordable, the government now, I think it's what now the strategy is coming in to help people take care of the therapist will take care
of the people. Yes.
Where we are making it even accessible, where they are being trained right now, even champions of people can go talk to people, create awareness. Not really treat, but create awareness for people understanding. But when it comes to the cost, that's a conversation. I think it's a continuous and a dilemma for many right now.
And where basically policies, government like policies need to be in place that make it offer subsidies. Maybe for you people, there's a way that they can shield you so that you're able to offer affordable healthcare, and also for medication. Because I mean, the minute you are on medication, it means you need to take your medication very often, on a day-to-day basis for most of them, and also that is money.
It's very costly.
Yes.
Now, one part is what, based on the bill which was passed, it's a matter of insurance now cover.
Okay.
Even NHF, beer coverage. Now, which now comes to us as professionals, if you're not qualified, you cannot be able to diagnose. Because even that diagnosis is what insurance people they want, because they want to see what's the condition. So you're saying this person has major depressive disorder. What's the treatment you're using? How long is the treatment? How can we cover and reimburse for this? So it's a combination of working both the professionals and the state itself, and also the insurance that comes in covering the costs. The same way you've said about the government coming in. If hospitals were equipped with mental health professionals everywhere, that will make it better. But also now when it comes to private practice, that is costly. That is costly. That one.
Oh, tell me about
that one. Is costly. Because even someone like me, we have to sit down and ask. Sometimes even I negotiate and someone comes to me and tells me, I really want help. Someone walks in and I don't have the money to charge me. And when I look at them, at the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to help, but but now what I do is I tell them, because now in the contract, it's usually I tell them we can negotiate, or even you come up with a payment plan. You commit to therapy, I will come up with a payment plan, and it lessens the burden of them to pay. If they have to come, instead of coming now on a weekly basis, they can't afford the work I give them and follow up. It's what now I can, instead of they come after 2 weeks. But if it's something critical and they have to be coming continuously. A payment plan comes in. But it's a burden to them also.
It is,
And for me, the time I'm taking on that one, the time I take even after the session to go and research, to go and come up with a treatment plan for them.
To go for your own treatment. Because some of the things you hear, you're like, oh my God, I need therapy for this.
I need to be well because some of these are triggers. So all that is what entails when it comes to therapy. Some people are like, why am I paying for coming talking to you only? That's not the thing. The thing is, when you come to me and unpack, my challenge here is I have to make sure as you're leaving this room, you're in a better place than the way you came before. For you, you're giving the story. For me, it's unpacking and identifying where is the problem and how can I help you. So what can I say in terms of costs? It's a multi-sectoral kind of approach. It's not one way only. It's the government coming in, which is now they're starting on that. We have the insurance companies coming in support, and we have now the professionals. How are we approaching it? And who are trained to actually offer that? Because I've had people telling me some costs are so high, and qualification of the person, they don't meet the cost. So even the people becoming aware of who am I going to? Are these the standard rates? So awareness is needed more.
And more. Yeah, okay. And like wow. Okay. Whew. So another question that I would ask is, so a lot of times, and I have seen this for myself, every time I tell people I'm in therapy, there's this question of, chick is crazy. You know, there's that. So there's this entire sort of stereotype, or like this entire mindset of, if someone is going for therapy, these people, you need to stay away from them because they are walking minefields. Yeah. So you know, and can we get to the point where, first of all, therapy does not mean you're crazy. Sometimes you can even be, and I think part of also being mentally healthy is also going for therapy.
Yes.
Even when you do not have any mental issues, it's always nice to just go and talk to someone else, and they help give you perspective.
Yes.
You know, that's even for a perfectly mentally healthy person. But how do we get to the point where someone can speak freely about them getting going for therapy, and you're not being looked at as a person who, like, I'm sure, like, you know, I mean, I've seen this. You go on a date and you're asking someone, okay, are you going for therapy? Because I mean, that's a position where we're moving into, where people need to just like get help for that. How do we get to that point?